after reviewing the film, gave our offensive MVP to Monty Ball. Monty's just playing at a very high level, obviously huge production. Not even playing the fourth quarter. I can't remember if he got in that last year. I don't think he did in the fourth quarter, but very excited for him. Also get recognized as the co-MVP for the Big Ten Conference. I thought was really, really neat. Our defensive scout MVP was Frank Tamicolo. Frank's done a nice job and getting in on some special teams for us as well. Our defensive MVP, Chris Borland. I think that had been kind of a work in progress the week before. Mike Taylor with his numbers, and the week before that had some guys with some impressive numbers, but they never give it to a loss. So Chris gave it. We gave it to Chris not only in-house here, but also the defensive Big Ten Player of the Week. So a real nice honor for him. Our offensive scout MVP, Chase Heyman, returned back a couple weeks back ago with an ankle injury and really did a nice job during the course of the week. And our our special teams MVP was Jared Abadaris. And you know, when you're watching the film, you see Abby show up in so many different ways, but I can't tell you how many times I've just been amazed on Sunday when you see him do certain things, kickoff return, punt return, all the plays that he does from the line of scrimmage. Just an exceptional football player, one that we're really blessed to have. So got a lot of guys I think going to be back quicker than later. A chance for David Gilbert this week. Aaron Henry looks pretty good. A number of guys that were banged up in the past are getting a little bit healthy, so hopefully we'll go over to Minnesota at full strength. A tremendous challenge. Obviously, Coach Keel's got those guys playing very, very well. To knock off Iowa 2 weeks ago to play Michigan State the way they did, you can see them getting better as we've watched the film here the last couple of days. They get better every week in all phases, offense, defense, and special teams. And have found some rhythm, have found some playmakers that they can go to offensively and defensively, and in the kicking game they do a nice job with the return unit. So a tremendous challenge, but I think one that our kids are excited about, and hopefully have an opportunity to go on the road and play better than we have on our last two opportunities. With that, open up for questions.
Brett, how do you address the history lessons with the Axe this week? Do you use players and coaches, or what are all the things you do?
Yeah, well, it's an educational process. We refer to the Axe, actually going back to last January when we come back. It's around it at certain times, maybe when we're at practice. We'll talk about it during the course of the year. Then this is a very special week. You know, when I first came here, Jim Huber, who obviously is a long-time coach here with Coach Alvarez, who knew both sides of the stories. He coached in Minnesota, coached here. He used to give a long presentation. I've given the presentation in the past. Coach Alvarez has given a presentation. I got a guest speaker coming in tomorrow that our kids are going to have an opportunity to listen to that has a unique perspective, I think, in the fact that he has played and coached in the rivalry game. So I'll let that one kind of come out as the week goes along, but it's something I know I'm excited about, and I think the young man will do a great opportunity.
Brett, when you guys met Sunday regarding to the kickoff coverage unit, is there a realistic expectation that you can change personnel at this point if you choose to, and how many, you know, with guys banged up?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you have a fundamental breakdown in any phase of the game, offense, defense, special teams, I think you got to look at A, what you're doing, B, who you're doing it with, and C, what are the results. So we'll take that and move forward and hopefully have better performance on Saturday.
Okay.
Will you get Aaron back on Tuesday as you head into the
you know, I walked through early this morning and he was in the pool bouncing around. I said, hey, we'll call Minnesota, see if they want to play in the pool. And he kind of giggled. Obviously, that's the first thing you'll kind of do when you come back from an ankle injury. To kind of put it in perspective, Andrew Lacasco had a similar injury a week ago. It was a lot worse than Aaron was, at least in the initial stages. He played on Saturday, practiced Thursday, Friday. So I don't know if Aaron will be there Tuesday, but I think he'll be there in a limited form, and then Wednesday, Thursday.
And just to follow up, do you have a concern about the lack of depth in the secondary at all?
Yeah, a lack of concern ever since Devin Smith. You know, Devin went down. That put Crow into the situation where we're at. PJ was a little banged up there for a couple weeks, but fortunately he's back being 100% now, so that gives me a little bit more reassurance with him and Devin Golden. And then at the safety position, Hamp is a guy that, you know, we were going to go with either Hamp or Dez last Saturday, but Hamp had some back issues. He played a limited role on special teams, but probably wasn't quite 100%. So, yeah, at Wisconsin, you're going to have a delicate, thin position at all times. It's just kind of a pick and choose. You know, when we lost David Gilbert a couple weeks into the season, and then a couple weeks ago Lou got basically hurt in the third quarter. I mean, you take away probably our best two defensive ends, and you have to survive. It is what it is.
Brett, you mentioned Monty Ball's level of play, and I think James White has obviously been overshadowed this year. His numbers aren't what they were a year ago, but how would you assess the way he's playing? Is he being able to take advantage of the opportunities there, or is he not doing everything he can at this point?
No, I can't argue with anything James is doing prep-wise. You know, it's kind of a luck of the draw there too. We were putting him in the third series, for instance, and his first series in there, all of a sudden there are three technique rips underneath. You know, a play that had been successful already in the game. Their kid just makes a great play, tackle for loss. Now we're playing behind the chains, and it changes the flow a little bit. What we wanted to do is get James on Saturday some opportunities to get in the end zone. You know, get that feeling back, and you know, not really, you know, try to script anything. But if the chance presented, and Thomas, I think because Thomas played the position, he really does have a feel of the way those guys think and the way they're wired and how to bring them back. So I know that was an important thing, and for us to get James in the end zone, I thought that was really good. And you know, here's to his credit, James comes up to me and several other coaches after the Michigan State game and said, you know, I blocked a punt in high school. So he kind of said, hey, I can do this. Volunteered for kickoff coverage, you know, on Sunday again. So again, just another selfless example of a guy that just wants to do anything they can to help the team.
Monty Ball's now putting up some numbers that put him in elite status with running backs that have been through this program. How do you judge how much is Monty Ball being a special, unique talent, and how much is him being a product of the system that's produced so many great running backs?
Well, a little bit of both. I think Monty chose us because of what we've done. You know, going back during Coach Alvarez's time and the history that all those running backs were able to create, kind of carried forward the same formula. You know, so I know Monty. If you sat down and talked to him why he chose Wisconsin, it's because we run a two-back I formation, and he wanted to be behind a fullback, play downhill football. So that got him here. But what Monty's done since he's been here is in his own hands. You know, we can't make a guy grow in a way. We just can give him the support, give him the you know, the program and the development phase. But Monty, the way he's wired, has just kind of been special. And you know, for him to pass Brian Calhoun, a guy that you know obviously did a lot of good things here in that 1 year when he played, but you know, I just think Monty is so far advanced beyond Brian, but also other running backs that I've been around, that he's just special. You know, I saw, you know, you see the NFL and you see different guys. Darren Sproles is a guy, when I was at Kansas State, I loved the kid and the competitive nature, and I knew he'd have success. And the way he's kind of come into that situation now this year, and now he's the big-time guy, it reminds me a lot of Monty's personality, just the vibe that he can give an entire team.
Yeah. Brett, your first year here was, I think, Thomas Hammock's second year as a grad assistant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious what you remember from then, and then as you followed his coaching career, what led you to offer him a job here? And you know, he's going back to Minnesota first time, like going back to Iowa. Would you offer him any advice this week, like don't lose the axe?
Yeah, you know, Thomas is a guy that when I first came here, I believe I'd heard the name before. Obviously, he'd done some good things at Northern Illinois, and I believe he was a running back that came into Kinnick when Kirk's first year and ran for a bunch of yards. That was the only game we won that year, but the running back was special. I think Thomas was the guy. And then when I came here, I knew that Coach kind of said, hey, he's a good coach. And I watched him coach, and I watched him handle people, handle players. Then he left, and I watched his career. Obviously went to Northern Illinois, his alma mater, worked for 2 different coaches there. I had an opportunity to go to Minnesota when Brew went there, and then Jerry kept him. And he's been very impressive. I like what he's done. He's a guy you got to calm down a little bit now and then again, but a very, very good coach. I think the players like him. I will grab him. I haven't at this point. He was a guy that I was thinking about talking about, you know, but there's already so much around that. I don't want to put that out there. I thought Coach Alvarez, when I took my first trip down to Iowa City, you know, kind of just said maybe just a couple things during the course of the week about, you know, it's all about the play on the field. You know, don't let yourself get involved. These kind of situations, the feelings in my experience have always been a lot more after the game. You know, you go around and to this day, every time I go to Iowa City, there's going to be that feeling after the game. It's not really up to it because you invest so much in the game. It's really immaterial. So I expect Thomas to handle it pretty easily.
Jesse?
You mentioned the axe and giving speeches during the week to give the guys a history lesson. You get the sense that the guys are more into a game like this because there's this historic trophy on the line, and what sorts of fun things do you do during the week with the...
Well, we've done everything. I remember my second or third year, I had a couple of our strength coaches dress up in Gopher uniforms, and at the end of a Thursday practice, they ran on the field and grabbed the axe and ran out. And, everybody's looking around like, what the hell just happened? And they had never seen the trophy lost before, most of them, and I wanted them to feel what that was going to be like, and we've done different things during the course of the week. I think you just got to get an understanding of what your team was. The number one player on our team right now offensively, Monty and Russell has no idea, so even Saturday when I grabbed that axe after the game, I kind of said, hey, we've got to educate this guy about what this game is all about, so it's been a fun thing, but it'll gain a little bit of momentum as the week goes on, and just get on the field.
Brett, people have talked about Des Southward's physical ability and talent since he got here, and Chris Ash said a couple weeks ago he started talking about potential. Are you starting to see that with Des on the field a little bit more translation?
Well, I'd like to see a little bit more. He's definitely battling through. He's like everybody else on the team. Has got some nicks and bruises. He's had an ankle it's constantly bothered him. So I'm happy with Des because here's a guy that didn't know Saturday what his role was going to be. He has things defined in special teams, but jump in right in the middle of the game. Aaron goes down. I'm really proud of Shelton the way he went over to free safety and handled it. Our defense played pretty well in the second half, even when our twos went in there. So I am happy with Des, but I can hear Chris's response about talking about potential once he results. You got to keep in mind Des played 1 year of high school football, and in that game and in that year he missed 7 games because of a broken hand. So I just always go back. I remember two fall camps ago. Brian Wozniak is a tight end coming in the middle. Des came up and whacked him and broke his shoulder. And the doctor saying, Brett, we don't usually see these type of injuries in football. It's more with a car accident, with a collision, and that much force. So I know Des could hit. It's just we got to get it more consistent.
Ben?
Can you talk about what Brady Ewing's meant to your team this year, just from the special team standpoint, but as a leader in the locker room?
Yeah, Brady's always been very special. A kid that Bo Ryan and those guys were trying to recruit him in basketball, so I had to out-recruit Bo just to get him here, which was a task in itself. So I think Brady made a conscious decision. He was going to go the football route, and we've been paying dividends ever since. I remember the smile on his face the first year when he came off the field after scoring his first touchdown, and that's grown to today. I filled out all the seniors. I sent a letter to their parents about senior day, and usually on that letter I always try to write a little note to the parents. It's kind of a unique story between me and their son and their situation. And I said to his mom and dad, I can't believe it's coming to an end. I can't imagine a day without Brady's smile in there. He just got so many little things. It was kind of funny. I had one of my good friends in life, Jimmy Hartley, who lives here in town. He brought a couple kids from a youth program over to practice last Tuesday, and we're sitting around after practice, and Brady comes over. All the guys are stopping by and saying hello to these 4 or 5 kids, and the one young man that's with him looks at me and he points to Brady. He goes, "Is that your son?" And I'm like, I didn't quite hear it. Brady heard it, and Brady goes, "Did you hear that?" I'm like, no, I didn't. And he kind of told the story, but I must be really looking old. But it was just kind of funny because I don't know if they sensed that I felt a good relationship with him or what. It was just kind of one of those funny things that kids say.
Yeah. Brett, you mentioned Minnesota improving, and Marquise Gray appears to be getting it more than he did early. And I'm just curious, you guys have had success against Northern Illinois' quarterback Harnish, not as much success against Braxton of Ohio State. What kind of problems might Gray present for you?
Well, first off, Marquise is big. And I know they list him at 240. He looks bigger than that. He's a guy that I think now what they've been able to do, Jeff, more than anything, is define the packages for him. He really, McKnight and him obviously have got a very special relationship, especially when it comes down to getting in the end zone. And anytime you have that relationship between a quarterback and a wide receiver, that's special. They're running backs, and they do a nice job there. To me, they're just settling in to what the coaches are telling them. It's been well documented. I was excited for Jerry when he got the job, but I wasn't excited for us. I knew he was going to be a difficult challenge, and you can see that coming each week in the way his players are playing.
Brett, you said at Wisconsin you're always thin at some position. As good as your offensive line has been, there haven't been a lot of scholarships there the last couple of years. I think there's 12 guys currently. I think you've had 4 scholarship guys in the last 2 classes. Have you rolled the dice a little bit there at that position?
Well,
is that a constant balance?
A little bit, but then he also, like Ricky Wagner, jumped in. We didn't really project that being able to happen. To be quite honest, Peter Kahns, I thought he was going to be a defensive lineman. Now he's, in my opinion, probably the best center in college football. Now probably I've had numerous people tell me that. So there's been a little bit of checks and balances there. I can't talk about recruiting, but we do have a huge emphasis on offensive linemen with this recruiting class. I was also trying to, figure out, Kevin Zeitler's a kid that came in and we thought with redshirt he played right away, so you kind of change classes there a little bit. It's like he was actually signed the year before, if you can follow me, because now he's coming in and playing so well as a freshman. Same way with Travis Frederick. He's a kid that came in and played. We would have signed more guys, but when he comes in and plays right away, you count him in that class. So I get what you're saying, and that's actually been great for us because this year needed to be a big year for us, and it is.
Just to follow up too, is it getting any tougher to find those guys in the state? It seems like you've had to go outside the state a little bit to find the guys you really want.
I don't think so. I think the in-state recruiting is so just dependent on kind of who decided to have big kids in what year. I mean, it's what we want here at Wisconsin isn't really normal. I mean, you got to have a certain frame and a certain look to you, to get what we want and what we're able to do. I always give Bo a little bit of a hard time because really Kevin, height-wise, doesn't fit the mode of what we have here. But what I love about Bo, you can see and evaluate. Kevin's got extremely long arms. He's extremely powerful in short spaces. He's really productive in tight quarters. So he's able to evaluate that, and then hopefully I've got a couple other guys step up.
Another offensive lineman, I know Dallas Llewellyn got hurt in camp.
Yep.
I thought he was coming back. Did he have to have surgery again recently?
Yeah, Dallas, probably maybe 3-4 weeks ago, Jeff, we made a decision. He could keep playing with what was going on, but it didn't feel sturdy to him all the time. It kind of was in his hands because the surgery he needed to have sooner than later. He may not be back for spring ball. So we went ahead and made that decision, which took him out of this year's, same knee, this year's opportunities and put it forward into the spring.
The beginning you mentioned Chris Borland's play. During the game on Saturday, Brian Calhoun had tweeted that he felt moving Borland inside, he was being too restricted and not making plays from the outside and being a playmaker. Do you feel that's a discussion or debate that his play and the inside backer is kind of settled now that he's not a guy to move back out?
No, I think he's really grown in every game. He's put himself in a position to make a lot of plays. He still doesn't. Chris has this little thing where he wants to improvise and make all big plays. And sometimes at linebacker, the biggest thing you have to learn is discipline, and he's done well. I think anytime, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our Mike linebacker and our Will linebacker, Mike Taylor and Chris Borland, are 1 and 2 in the league in total tackles. If that's a mistake, I'll probably make that same mistake again. As far as Brian Calhoun, he can tweet all he wants. He seems to be an expert. He should be able to probably stick to his own business.
Greg, did you like what you got out of Rob Havenstein in the jumbo? And is that just another good way to get him on the field and get him snapped?
It is, but Rob basically played the whole second half. We wanted to get him in there, and Josh, if we could limit his reps at times, to save him a little bit. So I thought it was really good for him. He was already going to be involved in that package down there on the goal line, which is really, just another big body in there. But I thought there was a couple plays on Saturday. I was watching Sunday on film that I didn't see during the game where Robbie pulled out and did some down and around schemes that our guys have been doing, and I hadn't seen him do them as well as he had. So he's another one, a guy that is coming in and playing very effectively as a redshirt freshman. So good days ahead for Robbie.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you.